Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Those with us here in the sanctuary, as well as those joining us live stream. I want to begin with a few words of thanks first to Liv for joining us on very short notice, given that Cantor Wolf's, her dad has been ill. And he's doing better, but she's coming back from the Netherlands and will be with us in coming weeks. Also, a special word of thanks to Thomas Burke for handling the tech and Liz Keenan for providing tech support remotely. This Shabbat is called Shabbat HaGadol, the Big Sabbath or the Great Sabbath. And there are a number of explanations or reasons given why this Shabbat of all gets its name. It's the Shabbat right before Passover, and according to some teachers, that as this Shabbat began, our ancestors, leaving the land of Egypt, picked out the lamb for their Passover dinner. So if you imagine the excitement, for a lot of folks, shopping for Passover is exciting. Multiply that by exponential numbers, and you can imagine their excitement to have that lamb meal and prepare for the Exodus. So that's one explanation. Another Shabbat HaGadol is because there was a time in our tradition when rabbis would give a big sermon on all the rules and customs for Passover. I won't be doing that tonight. But the third reason given is that it's a big day for us right now, and I think it's a reason that speaks to us. As we enter Passover, the return of spring, the celebration of our freedom and the Exodus, and our ever-increasing freedom these days, God willing, as we try to move ahead with this pandemic. So Shabbat HaGadol is the great Sabbath, giving us great hope, great promise for a better time and days ahead. We turn now to our opening song. Liv, would you lead us, please?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the sanctuary and at home. We're going to start with Ma Tovu. It's a favorite song of mine, but we're doing the High Holy Days melody, which might not be the High Holy Days melody exclusively, but I like it. Ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkinotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkinotecha Yisrael. Va'ani berov chastecha, avo veitecha, eshtacha ve'echal kontracha, ve'yiratecha, ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkinotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha, umkom mishkan kevodecha, va'ani v'shtacha ve'echra, evrecha lifnei Adonai osi, ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkinotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkinotecha Yisrael. Va'ani tefilati lecha, Adonai et ratzon, Elohim berov chastecha, Elohim berov chastecha, eneni be'emet yishecha, ma tovu, o halecha Mishkinotecha Yisrael, Mishkinotecha Yisrael.
Page 3 for the reading before the blessing of Shabbat candles. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we in our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ad sher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Welcoming Shabbat with the sweetness and joy of the Kiddush, we turn to page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho, b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaro lemase v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, Sechel Tziyad Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, Ve'otanu kedashta, Mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha, Be'achava uvratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh, HaShabbat.
Amen. The bottom of page 9. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope. For Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living. For Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness. For Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love, we offer thanks and blessing, O God. The Chatzi Kaddish is on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, B'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon, Uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, ba'agala, uv'izman kariv, v'yimru, Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach, le'alam ulal me'al maya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudesha, b'richu, le'la min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, amiran be'alma, v'imru, Amen. Page 28, you're welcome to rise for the Baruch Hu.
Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Adonai, HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
The middle of page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiness of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kibod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You're welcome to be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha v'chol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvleftecha v'derech uvshofbecha uvkumecha uvshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu latodavot beineinecha uchtaftam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lema'an tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kidoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
The top of page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
We are now on page 40 for the Micha Mucha. Yai dai yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai Micha Mocha Nedar Bakodesh Norah Tehilot Osei Fele Norah Tehilot Osei Fele Malchut Echara Uvanecha Bokei Ayam Lifne Moshe Miriam Ze'eli Zeli Anu ve'ameru Adonai Yimlo Leolam Va'ed Adonai Yimlo Leolam Va'ed Yai dai yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 Ve'ne'emar ki vada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
It's time for Yismachu. I love Yismachu. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shevi Shabbat. Kulam yisbe'u v'tang yumatu v'chashabat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'karashto Shabbat, Chemdat yamim, yamim otokarata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. Zecher lema'aseh, lema'aseh v'reishit Shabbat. Zecher lema'aseh, lema'aseh v'reishit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'koreh, Oneg Shabbat.
Page 45. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue with the tefillah. You're welcome to rise if you wish.
Adonai sefatai tivtach ufi yagid techilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Hatzei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Lifnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechei HaKol atah, Rav levoshia. Meshiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechelkel chayim bechesed, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומחיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמנת לך חיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Page 53. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence like lightning illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh. Well, as we ramp up for Pesach, we celebrate Shabbat. We take a few moments to reflect on joys and gratitudes of the past week and recent days, or maybe something you're excited about coming up. And here in the sanctuary, if you have any joys to share, we'll call on you in just a moment. Folks at home, you're welcome to put something into chat if you wish. Anyone here in the sanctuary? Yeah, that's a big one, being with family. Yeah, Sherry, yeah.
I'm grateful that both of my sons got the second shot.
Oh, it's great to get those shots. Great news, wonderful news. Jay?
I'm grateful that I got the shots after waiting forever.
Mazel tov, yeah.
Supposed to come in now for a few days, but she's coming in in May. She's going to drive up. She's going to come for 3 days. Her deal didn't pay. So I hope I see her by then. And of course I'll bring her. Yeah, I always do.
Good.
I have told us that I used to bring her.
Very nice, very nice. Okay. Liv?
Aside from many other things, I am grateful this week for organizations like the Asian American Pacific Islander Defense Fund, a legal defense fund, which is doing a lot of great work, helping out victims all over the country of hate crimes against Asian Americans. So if you are also grateful for them, you could donate.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm grateful too for family. Thank God we're planning to be together. We've been either vaccinated or tested or both. So, and we open windows and turn on fans. So just in case. So it's looking forward to Pesach and the joys of Pesach. So we take a few moments now for silent prayer.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
We hold in our hearts all who are ill or injured or seeking strength of spirit. At home, if you wish to include any names, we invite you to note them in chat. Here from the Bema, we include Joan Sorgan, Dawn Sorgan, Whitney Klein, Nadine Miller, Ted Miller, Seth Miller, Danielle Miller, Samantha Miller, Jordan Miller, Sherry Copeland, Scott Copeland, Fred Rosenfeld, Deanne Rosenfeld, Jack Levitan, Isabella Lagamba, Robin Dunn, Ron Druckman, Moses Powell, Margaret Powell, Yvette La Rochelle, Roberta Klein, Richard Grossman, John DeVoe, Lewis Allen, Audrey Hirsch, Barbara Kantrowitz, Stephen Nelson, Kathy Volby, Marilyn Zaga, Michael Stewart, Abby Immediato, Gay Shama, Tony Kippelman, Jay Kaplan, Jen Rubin, Robbie Hoff, Mark Hoff, Taylor Hoff, Dan Cerulli, Welaine Cerulli, Letitia Cerulli, Fran Bem, Walter Bem, June Hess, Michelle Finley, Jay Hoffman, Dan and Lee Cerulli, Carl Lembo, Danny Ruscillo, Moshe Ben Rosa Uvaruch, Jim Cecile, and Jean Kaplan. If you have any other names, again, please include them in chat. If you're here in the sanctuary, you're welcome to mention them. Page 253 for the Misha Be'erach prayer.
Avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe berach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Well, if you're about as old as I am, you'll know that, and you'll remember that there wasn't much of a choice when it came to matzah when we were kids. It was either plain, egg, or maybe you got a tom-tom cracker made of the same thing. And things were even more limited in the days of the Torah at the first Pesach, when the matzah baked on our backs by the sun on the way from Egypt to freedom. You can imagine what that must have tasted like. Today, by contrast, it's a Baskin-Robbins of matzah, domestic, imported from England or Israel, spelt, whole wheat, and more. But to my palate, a few days into this upcoming holiday, all those different flavors taste the same, no matter what the box says. No wonder they call matzah by another name in Hebrew, lechem oni, which translates in a number of interesting ways. In one translation, lechem oni, our matzah, is the bread of the poor, with the Hebrew word oni applying to poverty. The bread of the poor is flour and water, simple bread for people so poor that they can't afford to buy a little yeast to make it rise or a pinch of salt or sugar that would add some taste. The poor bread, slave food for a subsistence diet, symbolizes our poverty during bondage in Egypt, our time of material and spiritual deprivation, and reminds us of the need today to work for freedom from poverty for all God's people. As we prepare to celebrate Passover for the 3,000th time or so as a Jewish people, you'd think that the world would have learned the lesson of lechem oni, bread of the poor, yet children and families still hunger. In a second translation, lechem oni is the bread of affliction. The bread of affliction doesn't have much taste. It's not an easy chew. It takes time and effort to eat. Some say that there's little difference between the bread of the poor and bread of affliction, that poverty and affliction go hand in hand. Yet some rich people are just as miserable as poor ones. Their distress runs so deep that they lose their appetite. They can't eat. That even the fanciest meal becomes a bread or a meal of affliction. Regardless, when we come to Passover, the rich and the poor and those in the middle are to put aside the breads we like, the baguettes, donuts, pizza, a sandwich from Subway or Pret, and eat this lechem oni, this bread of the poor or the bread of affliction, to remind ourselves that all the bread in the world, all the money, all the dough that can make life easier cannot banish all worry or affliction. And we call attention to those who don't have what to eat and our responsibility to provide for them. Now, a third translation tells us that lechem oni is the bread with the answer, with oni coming from the Hebrew root ayin, nun, yud, to answer. So, if lechem oni is the bread with the answer, we should first ask, like they do in that game of Jeopardy, what's the question? What's the question? I think back to Passover a year ago in our Zoom Seder, when the question was, what will become of us, as we gazed into a future that loomed as empty and bleak. A year ago today, the question was, what will be? Yet we had, and again have, matzah lechem oni, whether we know it as the bread of affliction, the bread of the poor. It's also the bread with the answer. Lechem oni comes to us with the reassurance that as surely as Passover is here again, as surely as Passover celebrates freedom and the arrival of spring, it also brings a promise of better days ahead. There will be a visitor at your doorstep in mine this Passover Seder, Elijah the prophet. A guest who needs no mask is now on the way to bring that sweet and uplifting foretaste of the messianic time when all will be well and at peace. So we partake of that lechem oni tomorrow night. We open the door, and the answer to the question, what will be of us, will be right there in Elijah's promise of health, safety, and well-being, goodness, wholeness, and peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. Good Shabbos, Aziz and Pesach, all the best to all here in the sanctuary and everyone at home. We continue now with the Aleinu, page 282. You're invited to rise if you wish.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gidola li'artzer breishit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, u'ishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malkei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, ve'emar V'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
You're invited to be seated as we turn to the words of the Kaddish prayer. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us as we extend our sympathies to those who mourn the recent deaths of Adam Ira Greenberg and Francisco Lamparte. And we name on their yahrzeits Abraham H. Applebaum, Donald Cohen, Stanley Dobin, Fanny Du Bois, Teresa Friedman, Adolph Gunner, Abraham Hallaby, Mitzi Lembeck, Martin David Lisansky, Charlotte Mergentime, Joseph Russo, Esther Schneider, Theodore Schofield, Laurel Godin Sheeman, Solomon Springham, Elsa Bender Stein, George Stern, Rose Tepperman, Lester Trube, Rose Vasa, Rabbi Joseph Weiss, Jerome J. Wertheimer, and Solomon Wolf. If you have any other names at home, please include them in chat here in the sanctuary.
The victims of all the recent shootings. I don't know their names, but they should be remembered.
Thank you. Zichronam Livracha. May all their memories be for a blessing as we rise to turn to the words of the Kaddish prayer, page 294. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, B'alma Divrach Hirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv, V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah, Mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei d'kudashah, Baruch Hu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'alma, v'yimru Amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. And may the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say Amen. You're welcome to be seated. Tomorrow morning is Torah study on Zoom entirely. I look forward to seeing you as we continue in the book of Judges. Sunday night, Zoom Seder, and Liv will be on there with me pushing the buttons, and we invite you to join us. We will have participation from home, and we'll start at 5, a break for dinner, and then finish up an hour and a half later with a very brief closing. So that's Sunday night at 5, and hope to see you then. And looking ahead on the calendar, service for the 7th day of Passover, Yizkor, Shabbat morning, a week from tomorrow morning, here in the sanctuary and again on Zoom. Our thanks to you, Liv, for stepping into the shoes of the cantor on such short notice and lifting our voices in prayer. Thank you again for so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Here in the sanctuary, Thomas Burke, flipping the switches with logistical support from Liz Keenan off-site. So thank you all for your help and support. And on behalf of everybody here at the temple, want to wish you a Zis and Pesach, a good Pesach, a sweet one, a healthy one, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Did we cover everything, Sherry? Is that? Yeah, okay, good. So we turn to our closing song. Liv, please.
Just one note about the tech aspect of the Passover Seder. There will be a new link. It is already set up, and Gail will be sending it out if she has not already. Thank you, Gail, obviously. So look out for that. It is not the Shabbat link. It is new. That's all I have to say on that. Since it's Pesach, we're doing a Pesach song, and I didn't want to just do Dayenu, because that's a little repetitive. We love Dayenu, but it's a little repetitive. So we're honoring the great Debbie Friedman with Miriam's song. Oh, which in your books is on page 342, if you wanted to look. 342.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every thread and every strand she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing our song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. As Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the seas, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing our song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And the women dancing with their followed Miriam as she sang her sing a song to the one who we make Miriam, and the women danced and danced the whole night long. I just love the song.
Shabbat Shalom, Happy Pesach.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Please join us on Sunday if you can. I'm going to unmute everyone in the call just so you guys can talk to each other if you would like. I can't hear the cacophony of Good Shabbos, but I hear it in my heart.
Yeah. They're there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose we're going to end the meeting then. Feedback is always welcome. And we hope to see you on Sunday and in Torah study tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks again.
Yeah, it was good.